So I know that you guys have been studying about Malaga Island, and I'm hoping that what you're going to get out of today is you're going to get to know the islanders a little bit better through the exhibit, the story we're trying to tell, the historic documents that you have here, as well as the objects. And hopefully you'll be able to work very much like a historian would doing research using the exhibit, and very much like an archaeologist.
Malaga Island was settled by a group of mixed-race fishermen and laborers with their families in the mid-1860s. They lived on the island for about 50 years until they were evicted by the state in 1912. In between that time period, they set up homes, they raised their families, they worked just like any other Maine resident living on the coast of Maine. They were poor and they certainly struggled, but they managed to eke out a living and set up a home. They were also caught in a time period of an economic decline in Maine, a decline in the fishing industry, raising rates in the real estate prices, as well as the height of the eugenics movement. And with the growing prejudice and a lot of criticism through national media, Maine actually became very sensitive to the issue and offered quite a bit of government support to the community for a while before in 1912 they decided that the best thing to solve the state's problem was to evict the entire community without a home to go to. After the community was evicted by July 1st, 1912, the state then turned around and sold the island for a profit, and no one has lived on Malaga Island ever since. To recognize the centennial anniversary of the eviction in 1912, the Maine State Museum opened this exhibit in 2012. We did so with a couple of goals in mind. One, we wanted to correct many of the myths that existed around Malaga Island and the reasons for the eviction. We also wanted to create some dialogue across the state, and especially in schools, around the issues of civil rights and civic responsibility. And what better way to do that than with an example right here in our own state.
We're going to talk a little bit about evidence, because if you're doing research, you're going to be dealing with a lot of evidence, or trying to find evidence to support your theories. To go along with this exhibit, we have a gallery program that we've created for middle school and high school level students. It's a little bit different than some of the programs that we've done in the past, in that it's an hour long instead of being a half an hour, and it's really inquiry based. It's really trying to get the students to think about what they're seeing in the exhibit, to analyze the primary documents that we have here, the secondary documents that we have here, the artifacts that have been dug up by the archaeologists, be able to really examine these things and start to ask questions and answer questions. And so we've designed some activities, some worksheets, some inquiry-based observation activities that will allow the students to really explore in depth what was going on here at Malaga, why it happened, what they feel about it. So we're really going in all different directions to get the students to look at this subject matter and look at this community, getting to know them from all different angles. So what about this?
It's a bone.
Is it a primary source?
Yep.
Yes. Why? These actually are fragments. Many of them are pottery and glass. Some of them are metal, and they're from Malaga Island. Okay. What kind of conclusions, just from these little tiny fragments, could you make about the people living on Malaga Island? Yeah. When we are looking through the exhibit, we're going to ask you to document the evidence, the type of evidence that you're finding, and we're going to ask you to make some interpretations based on that evidence. So,
maybe berries and fish, some sort of fishermen. I read lots of those paragraph things, and it mentioned how there's fishermen, lobstermen, and how they clan.
Right. So they were using the resources around them.
Yeah, that was their job, so it must have been their main resource.
Probably think about what they would have gotten for basics.
They probably would have gotten sugar and salt, and maybe
You guys come over here. Give you an idea if you can just try to make out some of this. It's a receipt that's going to give you an idea of what they're buying in the general terms.
Just scribble. We'll see several entries for oil, potatoes, fish, pork, beef, tea, flour, and sugar.
Good. That's what they eat.
Look at the pictures that are going on here.
Well, she doesn't look very happy, but
And then, do you think she wanted to have her picture taken?
probably not.
Probably not.
Why did they take a picture then?
Well, this was before missionary aid, and this was with after missionary.
That's like a big clue. Okay. So we need to ask a whole bunch of questions when we see a photo like this to see if we're getting to the, the actual purpose.
Yeah.
They sold Malaga Island for $1,650.
So where did you get that evidence? Where did you learn about the evidence? What's your answer?
Well, there was fish hooks and there were nails and there was this paragraph about a person and what her job was from the cases.
Let's look at the question that talks about the newspaper headline.
Immediate action to be taken to clear Malaga Island of people. Will be warned to leave within 2 weeks. And
I think they may have dug them up so the people of Malaga who were sent away or evicted wouldn't come back and just start over again.
They didn't want them returning to the island.
I don't think it was really right for them to dig up the graves on Malaga, but they were other people's family. They shouldn't have dug them up. It's just unnatural.
It's really disturbing, isn't it?
Yeah.
You would think they were hated.
There was a lot of prejudice going on because they were African American, and then two, because they were a little bit not so well off as the people on the Pittsburgh.
But what did we learn today when we were looking at these objects? Were they very much different than the
No,
people
they
in
weren't
the
very
city?
much different. They were.
Okay, guys. So, is there anybody else want to add to why the community was evicted? We are talking about the changes in economy, so they're hoping to bring in tourism, although that did not succeed. We've also heard that the state wanted maybe to make a little extra money off of the island, which is something certainly that happened when they were bought and sold the island. And also a big factor being discussed here is racism. Okay. Anybody else want to add to that? To complement the exhibit and to complement the gallery program that is presently going on, and to make sure that these materials are available in the future for teachers, we've created a series of lesson plans that will be living on in our website, as well as a lot of other documentation of the material, the story of Malaga Island. We have an extensive amount of pictures. Some of them are pictures of the community, some of them are pictures of the archaeological finds. We've also created some online resources like interviews with the archaeologists. The audio cast from the Salt Institute is also available on the website. So all of these materials will live on beyond the close of the exhibit, which is on May 26, 2013.